Assalamualaikum and good day to our lecturer, Puan Nur Fatihatul Amin. Our presentation today is titled Curriculum Studies and Learning Theories in Primary School Mathematics, focusing on the Year 4 topic, Money. My name is Nur Fahana binti Shamsuddin, and together with my partner, Kistina Safia binti Abdul Muiz, we will be presenting this topic. The topic of money is highly relevant to real-life situation because students encounter financial transactions in their daily life, such as buying food, paying for items, and managing small amount of money. According to Busey Bank 2023, providing a financial education to young people at an early stage help them to develop the knowledge and skill needed to manage money and make a responsible financial choice. In addition, learning about money helps students to connect mathematics with real life situation. This support meaningful learning and is aligned with the KSSR curriculum, which emphasize authentic and real-world applications in the learning process. From a mathematical perspective, the topic of money integrates several important skills. These include additions and subtractions of money in ringgit and cents, combined operations, estimating and checking the reasonableness of answer, as well as budget planning and comparison.
Next, we look at how this activity aligns with the Year 4 Mathematics curriculum in the DSKP. The selected topic falls under Topic 3, which is money. The relevant content standard include 3.1, Basic Operation Involving Money, 3.2, Mixed Operations Involving Money, 3.3, Financial Management, and 3.7, which is problem solving. So our activity integrates these standards because students must calculate total expenses, compare costs, and make financial decisions within a fixed budget. So this allows pupils to apply mathematical knowledge in real life problem solving context, which is strongly emphasizes in KSSR. Now let's move to constructivist learning theory. Constructivist learning theory explains that students do not simply receive knowledge from the teacher, but instead actively construct their own understanding through experience and interactions. This means learning happens when students engage with problems, explore ideas, discuss with peers, and reflect on their thinking. According to constructivist principles, meaningful learning occurs when students, the first one is engage in authentic tasks. So authentic tasks are activities that reflect real life situations. In mathematics education, this means students apply mathematical concepts to problems that they might encounter in everyday life. Second, collaborate with peers. When students work together, they share ideas, compare strategies, and discuss different solutions. This collaborative interaction helps deepen their conceptual understanding. Third is solve real-life problems. Constructivist learning emphasizes problem solving rather than memorizing procedures. Students learn mathematical concepts more effectively when they apply them in meaningful contexts. Fourth, justify their thinking. Students are encouraged to explain how they arrive at their answers. This process helps develop reasoning skills and allows them to evaluate whether their solutions are logical. In this approach, the role of the teacher changes from being the sole source of knowledge to becoming a facilitator of learning. Their teachers guide students, ask problem questions, and provide support when needed. But students remain actively involved in constructing their own understanding. In the context of mathematics education, constructivists supports problem-based learning and contextual learning. This means mathematical concepts are introduced through real-world situations that require students to analyze information, perform calculation, and make decisions. Therefore, constructivist learning encourages students to become active learners, critical thinkers, and independent problem solvers, rather than passive recipients of information.
Okay, next we will explain about the Brunner's learning theory. Brunner's learning theory was introduced by Jerome Brunner and is based on the idea that learning is an active process. Brunner believed that children develop knowledge and meaning through direct interaction and active involvement in real life experience. McLeod, 2025. According to Brunner, learning occurs through three modes of representation. The first is an active representation where pupils learn through actions and hands-on activities such as manipulating real objects. The second one is iconic representation where learning takes place through image, diagram, or visual representation. The third is symbolic representation where pupils understand concept using symbols, number, and abstract reasoning. Brunner also emphasized discovery learning, where students actively explore and construct their own understanding rather than simply receiving information from the teacher. In mathematics learning, this means pupils should progress from concrete experience to more abstract symbolic calculation.
Now we will explain the learning activity called the Smart Traveler Budget Challenge. In this activity, students work in pairs to plan a short holiday trip to another country. First, each pair select one budget card placed face down by the teacher, and the value of on the card represent their total budget for the trip, and they cannot change it. After reserving the budget, students choose one destination from the available options. Next, they must calculate the total cost of the trip, including flight, accommodation, food, and activities. Their total cost must not exceed the budget. Finally, students present their travel plan and explain why their selected destination is the best choice within their budget. This slide shows the price table used in the activity. Students are given three destination options, which is Thailand, Indonesia, and Japan. Each destination includes four expenses, which is flight, accommodation for 2 nights, food, cost per day, and activity cost. Students must calculate the total cost for the entire trip, including food for 3 days. The calculations require them to add multiple values involving ringgit and sen, which directly supports the year for money learning objective.
Next, we will explain the learning activities for the Year 4 topic of money. In this activity, students will work in pairs to complete a budgeting task called a travel budget challenge. First, each pair must select one budget card from three cards placed face down by the teachers. The amount written on the card represents their total budget and it cannot be changed. After receiving the budget, students must choose one travel destination from the option provided. In step 1, students calculate the total cost for the selected destination. The expenses include flight, accommodation, food for 3 days and activities. In step 2, students perform the calculation carefully in ringgit and cent using column addition, making sure that the decimal points are aligned correctly. In step 3, students compare the total cost with their budget limit. In step 4, if the total cost exceeds the budget, students must adjust their choice, such as selecting a cheaper accommodations or fewer activities and then recalculate the total cost. Finally, in step 5, each pair will present their final travel plan and explain why their chosen destination is the best option within their budget. The tools used in these activities include a price table worksheet, budget card, and a whiteboard with marker.
This slide explains how the Smart Traveller Budget Challenge activity align with the both constructivist learning theory and Bruner's learning theory. First, let's us look at the alignment with constructivist learning theory. The activity is strongly constructivist because it is based on a real life context, which is planning a travel trip within a fixed budget. Real life context helps students see how mathematics is applied outside the classroom. In this activity, students actively construct their own understanding by calculating costs, comparing different destination options, and deciding which travel plan fits their budget. Instead of simply receiving answer from the teacher, students must explore and discover the solution themselves. The activity also promotes collaborative learning as students work in pairs. They discuss possible choices and check each other's calculation and agree on the best decision. This interaction allows students to exchange ideas and strengthen their conceptual understanding. Another important constructivist element is that students must justify their reasoning during the presentation. They explain how they calculated the total cost and why their chosen destination is suitable for their budget. This process helps develop mathematical reasoning and communication skills. In this learning environment, the teacher acts as a facilitator, guiding students through questioning and support rather than directly providing solutions. Now, we look at the alignment with Bruner's learning theory. This activity reflects Bruner's three modes of representation. First is the inactive stage, where students learn through action and decision making. In this activity, students actively choose their destination, select expenses, and adjust their travel plan based on the budget. Second is the iconic stage, where learning occurs through visual representation. Students use the price table and worksheets to organize and interpret information visually. Third is the symbolic stage, where students perform abstract mathematical operations. They calculate the total cost using numbers, apply addition involving ringgit and cent, and justify their answer using mathematical language. In addition, the activity promotes discovering learning, which is a key principle in Bruner's theory. Instead of being told which destination fits the budget, students must calculate, analyze, and discover the correct solution themselves. Therefore, this activity successfully integrates both theories by encouraging active exploration, collaboration, and mathematical reasoning, which helps students develop deeper understanding of the concept of money.
Next, we will explain how this activity align with the KPPB elements which include character, collaboration, communication, critical thinking, and creativity. First is character. Through, the, through this activity, students learn to take responsibility for completing their calculation accurately. They also compare their total cost with the given budget and demonstrate perseverance by recalculating if the total exceed the budget. This helps students to practice financial responsibility when making spending decisions within a fixed budget. Second is collaboration. Students work in pair to complete the task. They share responsibilities such as calculating totals, checking answers, and verifying expenses. They also discuss and agree on the best destination within their allocated budget, which develop teamwork and shared accountability. Third is communication. Students are required to explain how they calculated the total cost, including food expenses for 3 days. They also use correct mathematical vocabulary, such as total cost, budget balance, regrouping, and ringgit and cents. During the representations, students that justify why their chosen destinations fits within the budgets and respond to questions from the teacher or classmates. Next is critical thinking. Students evaluate whether the total cost is reasonable compared to the allocated budget. They also consider the impact of choosing more expensive accommodation or additional activities. If the total exceeds the budget, students must decide on suitable adjustment, such as selecting a cheaper option while still maximizing their travel experience. Finally, is creativity. Students demonstrate creativity by strategically selecting combinations of accommodations and activity to design the most enjoyable trip within the budget constraint. They also present their travel plan in an engaging and convincing way and may even create a new destination option or design a new budget challenge for another pair.
This slide explains the expected learning outcome of the Smart Traveller Budget Challenge activity. There are three main learning outcomes which focus on mathematical understanding, skills development, and student engagement in learning. The first one, the activity strengthen pupils' mathematical understanding of money concepts. Students learn how to perform addition and subtraction involving money in ringgit and cent. Since the activity requires them to calculate several expenses such as flight, accommodation, food, and activities, they must combine multiple values accurately. Then students also develop the ability to estimate and verify whether their answers are reasonable. For example, after calculating the total travel cost, they must check whether the amount is realistic and whether it stays within the given budget. In addition, the activity introduces pupils to concept of budgeting. Pupils learn that spending decision must consider financial limits, and they begin to understand the relationship between incomes, expenses, and financial planning. This helps students see how mathematical calculations are connected to real-life financial decision making. Second, the activity helps students develop several important skills. One important skill is calculation accuracy. Students must carefully add money values and align decimal point correctly when calculating ringgit and cent. Students also develop estimation skills which help them quickly judge whether a total cost is reasonable compared to their budget. Another key skill is problem solving. If the total cost exceeds the budget, students must rethink their choices and find alternative solutions, such as selecting a cheaper destination or reducing certain expenses. The activity also develops financial planning skills because students must manage resources within a limited budget. In addition, pupils develop communication and justification skills when they explain their calculation and decision during the presentation. Finally, since the activity is done in pairs, students also strengthen their collaborative teamwork skills. The third learning outcome focuses on student engagement and motivation. The travel team makes the activity more interesting because it connects mathematics to a real-world situation that pupils can imagine and relate it to. Students become more engaged because they are given the opportunity to make their own choices, such as selecting the destination and planning their travel expenses. There is also an element of challenge and excitement because students must ensure that their travel plan stays within the budget. When students present their solutions and explain their reasoning, they become more confident in expressing their ideas. Therefore, the contextual and interactive nature of the activity promotes meaningful learning where students understand mathematical concepts rather than simply memorizing procedure.
In conclusion, the Smart Traveller Budget Challenge effectively integrate the Year 4 money topic with Brunel learning theory and constructivist learning theory. This activity helps students develop procedural fluency in mathematics calculation while also building a financial literacy and higher order thinking skill. At the same time, the activity aligned with the KSSR curriculum, which emphasizes the meaningful and student-centered learning. Through contextual problem solving and collaborative exploration, students are able to construct their own mathematical understanding in a learning environment that is both realistic and engaging.
Now let's move to the Q&A section. The first question is, how does this activity apply Brunel's learning theory and constructivist learning theory in the learning process? Okay. This activity applies constructivist learning theory because students actively construct their own understanding through a meaningful real-life situation. Instead of only practicing addition in a worksheet, students calculate travel expenses and compare them with a given budget. Through this process, students explore, discuss, and make decisions which help them build their own understanding of money addition. Then the activity also reflects Brunel's learning theory, particularly the idea that learning occurs through active discovery. Students are involved in selecting a destination, calculating costs, and making financial decisions. They move from understanding the situation conceptually to performing symbolic calculations with ringgit and cent. This process encourages students to discover mathematical relationships and apply them in a real-world context.
Okay, next Q&A sections is, why is this activity appropriate for Year 4 pupils, cognitive level, and mathematical understanding, especially for learning additions of money in ringgit and cents? This activity is appropriate for Year 4 pupils because the topic of addition of money in ringgit and cents is part of the KSSR mathematics curriculum for this level. The task requires students to add several monetary value, including ringgit and cent, which strengthens their understanding of decimal addition. Additionally, the context of planning a holiday trips makes the activity meaningful and relatable to students. Real-life contexts help pupils to understand why mathematical skills are important in everyday situations. The task is also manageable for their cognitive level because the students only need to perform additions and compare the total with a given budget. The last question is, how does this activity help pupils to develop critical thinking and real life financial decision making skills with learning mathematical concepts? So, this activity encourages critical thinking because students must analyze the total cost and determine whether it fits within their allocated budget. If the total exceeds the budget, they need to reconsider their choices and select different options. This requires decision making and problem solving. At the same time, this activity promotes real life financial awareness. Students learn how budgeting works by calculating expenses and managing limited resource. They also practice explaining their reasoning when presenting their travel plan. Through this process, students develop important skills such as mathematical reasoning, communication, and financial literacy.